Tony relied on his exceptional hearing, and easily identified the dice inside the cup were all ones. Without hesitation, he bet the entire $1,000 he had borrowed. The outcome of the game would decide whether he'd go bankrupt overnight, but what lay before him was a trap set by the casino. The dealer lightly tapped the table, and the numbers on the dice instantly changed, but there was no panic in Tony's eyes. He had already anticipated everything. He slammed his hand on the table, and shook the dice cup again. When the dealer revealed the dice once more, everyone was stunned. The numbers on the dice were exactly as Tony had predicted. It turned out Tony was no ordinary person. He was a god of gambling from another world. However, when he first crossed over, his situation was dire. He was hung outside a tavern, becoming the laughingstock of the town. Everything stemmed from his half-brother, who had done everything in his power to drive him out of the family. Even more ridiculous, his fiancée, the legendary Empress, witnessed it all. Disappointed beyond measure, her guards urged her to break off the engagement with Tony. Just as everyone thought Tony was worthless, his only maid arrived in time and saved his life. Back at home, Tony was brutally beaten by his father. His father angrily scolded him for disgracefully humiliating the family. The maid kneeled to plead on Tony's behalf, but was maliciously provoked by his brother. His brother accused Tony of taking him to the casino to lose money. Tony was furious, and his anger erupted. He slapped his brother hard. Just then, the news came that an imperial edict had arrived. The Empress accused Tony of being absurd, and of having low moral character. She had come specifically to deliver the edict, and called for Tony to be engaged to her no more. But Tony actually smiled. As he took the edict, he secretly laughed to himself. This was just part of fate. His brother was hopping mad, accusing Tony of being crazy, getting rejected by the emperor, and still being able to laugh. However, what shocked everyone even more was when his father decided to expel Tony from the family, severing their father-son relationship entirely. He declared that Tony wouldn't take a single coin with him, and ordered him to be thrown out of the house. Tony was beyond furious. He tore off his fine robes and threw them on the ground. He shouted, within a month, he would make them regret this decision. After that, he turned and left without hesitation. But once on the street, he began to regret his decision. The cold wind made him shiver uncontrollably. Just as he was about to collapse, his maid caught up to him and tightly grasped his hand. She said that no matter what happened, she was willing to follow him. Tony felt a warmth in his heart. Touched by her words, he vowed to make her the richest maid in the entire capital. The first step was to make money, so he began planning how to rise quickly. The maid was worried he might gamble everything away again or even sell his organs. Tony smiled lightly and said he had known all kinds of gambling skills since he was young. At 3, he could play cards. At 4, he learned to play mahjong. He swore that this time he would definitely win. But the next second, he realized he had no money. He checked his pockets empty. Just then, a rich second-generation heir appeared. He said he could lend Tony some money, but the rich heir was secretly scheming, hoping to scam Tony. Tony ignored him and went straight to the gambling table. His opponent was a cunning woman. She played tricks, but Tony was already prepared. He lightly slapped his hand, and the dice returned to their original state. In an instant, he earned his first pot of gold. With this money, Tony bought a house. This was only the first step in his plan. He knew to stand firm in this world, he must possess the ability